On paper, a legal restraining order reads like an impenetrable fortress. It dictates precise physical boundaries, restricts communication, and carries the full weight of the justice system. In the physical world, however, it weighs exactly as much as the paper it is printed on. Take the case of a young woman named Misty. For several months, she dated a seemingly normal, quiet guy named Paul. When the relationship fractured, Paul's behavior escalated to a point where a judge had to intervene. Misty secured a restraining order, legally barring Paul from coming anywhere near her or her apartment. For a few weeks, the harassment stopped. But in the psychology of stalking, quiet does not always mean safe. This diagram illustrates a behavior pattern known as predatory circumvention. Rather than viewing a legal boundary as a wall to retreat from, the stalker views it as a maze. They study the new barriers to see how to navigate around them. During this perceived quiet period, the threat is actually adapting to the new rules of engagement. They are testing the perimeter, looking for blind spots, and slowly closing the distance. Misty did everything right. She followed the law perfectly and trusted the system to protect her. Yet, within weeks of receiving that court order, she would open her bedroom closet door to find him waiting inside. Surviving a targeted threat requires a plan for the exact second the legal system fails to act as a physical barrier. The first physical escalation occurred late at night. Misty's roommate was in her own room playing video games when she heard a sudden crash. Paul had deliberately thrown a bag of Misty's old clothes straight through her bedroom window, violently shattering the glass. A wireframe blueprint shows the specific layout of Misty's bedroom. She slept on a loft bed, and the window Paul chose to smash was the one directly beside where her head rested at night.
He possessed intimate, highly specific knowledge of her sleeping arrangements. Misty and her roommate immediately called the police. But because Paul fled the scene immediately after throwing the bag, the incident was classified under property damage rather than an active threat to life. That classification created a terrifying systemic delay. It took law enforcement 3 hours to arrive. During that 3-hour wait, Paul texted Misty repeatedly. He sent vague threats like "wrong move" and demanded she returned his vape. He was using digital communication to maintain psychological dominance from a distance while keeping her in a state of high anxiety. Paul used that broken window as a calculated probe. It allowed him to map the physical boundaries of the apartment and record the police response time to the second. The following evening, Misty lost her secondary layer of protection. Her roommate had to work a closing shift, leaving Misty entirely alone in the apartment. Around 10:30 p.m., Misty unlocked her front door and stepped outside for a seemingly inconsequential task, taking out the trash. She was gone for less than 2 minutes. This timeline illustrates how the attacker conducted a vulnerability audit. Utilizing his prior surveillance, he knew he had a 3-hour buffer before police arrived. Paul exploited exactly those 2 minutes to approach the apartment, slip through the door, and secure a hiding spot. His intimate knowledge of the layout meant he bypassed the living room completely, moving directly into the optimal ambush position in her bedroom. When Misty returned, she briefly thought she saw a shadow shift in her room. Emotionally exhausted from the previous night, she convinced herself it was just paranoia. She sat on her bed, scrolled her phone to calm her nerves, and then got up to grab something from her closet. She pulled the handle. The door swung open. Paul was standing in the pitch black, completely silent and totally rigid. This is the exact moment systemic protection collapses. The piece of paper meant to keep him away is irrelevant. The police are nowhere near. Misty is entirely isolated with an intruder in an enclosed space. The biological stakes of this ambush were critical. In an enclosed space, a victim's natural fight-or-flight response, like screaming or turning to run, can instantly trigger an intruder's adrenaline, frequently resulting in immediate physical violence. Miss survived by employing extreme emotional regulation. In a fraction of a second, she suppressed her own panic. She consciously chose to remain completely calm and normalize a terrifying situation. She looked at the man hiding in her closet and engaged him in flat, mundane conversation. She asked what he wanted. When he stated, coldly, that he wanted his vape back, she discussed it with him. She was de-escalating his immediate adrenaline spike to buy herself crucial seconds.
While holding this calm exterior, she executed a parallel tactical action. Holding her phone out of his direct line of sight, she stealthily texted her roommate a step-by-step update: who was there, where he was, and what he was saying. Her roommate instantly became an external dispatcher. Reading the texts from work, she called 911 while running for the bus, relaying the restraining order violation and the active home invasion to the operator. This forced an immediate, high-priority police response that the broken window failed to trigger. By the time the roommate arrived at the apartment, the police were already there. Paul was in handcuffs on the sidewalk, and Mistine had safely evacuated the premises. A legal restraining order is a vital tool for establishing boundaries and creating a paper trail. But true safety requires acknowledging its physical limitations. It requires maintaining extreme situational awareness, knowing your exit routes, and having a plan for the 120 seconds it takes for that paper shield to fail. If you or someone you know is experiencing stalking or domestic harassment, you don't have to handle it alone. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline or text START to 88788.